So, I wanted to talk about gender.
Ooh, spicy.
Spicy gender. Your gender is spicy.
Thank you.
Do you want to explain your gender, or do you want to just get into the day and let it be revealed?
What do you think is more cinematic?
Maybe we can just get into it.
Okay, let's get into it. Make it a plot twist.
To go.
So,
Are you ready? Okay. So, you begin your day. I haven't seen this footage.
yeah, it's being sent to you right now.
What happens?
Usually what happens is, actually this part isn't filmed, but my alarm will go off at like 5:30 or 6, and then I will turn it off, and then I'll be like, all right, I should get out of bed, and then I sleep until 9. So that's what happened. When I wake up, normally what happens is I just get out of bed and I start brushing my teeth. However, since this day was a special day, I was on my phone for a little bit beforehand because I needed to get the camera rolling.
At what point in this routine do you start think about your gender in the day?
Normally it's actually when I put on my glasses. Not usually the moment I put on my glasses, but usually I have blue glasses and pink glasses to sort of define gender. They're not always accurate. Sometimes I just grab whichever one happens, but usually whichever one I kind of put on usually indicates kind of how I'm feeling that day. Also, I think I also start thinking about it whenever I getting dressed, mainly because usually whether the choice between wearing a bra and a binder, and which one I want to do. Sometimes that's not always the best, though, because sometimes I don't wear the binder because I want to breathe. And you can't breathe with a binder on. It's just I can't wear it all day. So if I'm going to go out and do something all day, then I shouldn't wear that all day.
Just say that again.
I do have to take off my chest binder before my 3 p.m. class because I can only wear it for 8 hours. My 8 hours will be up at like 4 or 5. Unless you want me, I can also wear it a little bit through because I can go until probably about 5 with it on.
You can take it off if that's more comfortable.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I usually actually don't think too hard about it. It's just sort of instinctual, more so than, ooh, am I gonna be chest bindy today or not? Like, I don't actually think that. Normally what I'm doing is I'm listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos as I'm getting up, getting out of bed. And
Do you think the way you walk or hold your body is influenced by gender?
yes.
How?
It honestly depends on the water that the cultural water I am steeped in. As a tea bag, that's a very poor, bad metaphor. I don't think, most of it's actually kind of comes from childhood, of kind of not wanting to be a girl and not wanting to develop breasts. So I sort of developed a mechanism of hunching over to make my boobs seem smaller than they actually are, just from growing up, being teased for being a girl, a boyish girl, if you will. I also definitely, whenever I wear chest binders, at least here in Buenos Aires, I'm a little on edge because I know that there's a lot of transphobia and trans-based murders, and so I try to just stick to areas that I know or are safe when I wear that, and try not to draw as much attention, more attention than I normally tend to draw, at least to my chest, because I don't want to die. But normally in Berlin, on the other hand, definitely wearing a binder sometimes made me feel a lot happier, and I would actually straighten my back more because I've just always been uncomfortable with my tits regardless of how I'm feeling that day, because they're big and they're uncomfortable, but I also like them from time to time. Sometimes they're really pretty, and sometimes I just want to squash them and pretend they don't exist. So Also, I try to swagger. But that's just me trying to be confident. Or, I guess, look more badass than I really am so people don't mess with me when I'm on the streets.
Is the badass associated with being masculine?
Usually.
Okay.
I try to look tough, essentially, so masculine. There's very few occasions that I like looking overtly feminine.
Okay.
Or at least like frilly feminine. Like this skirt is like my favorite skirt because it's not overtly feminine. It's just very simple, and I like having freedom of legs.
Yeah, so a lot of it is practical and
Yeah.
not just, yeah.
A lot of shit's practical.
Okay, so I guess the next question here is, do you think the way you talk to your friends changes based on gender, or is that
No.
consistent?
It's very consistent. I've
Okay.
always been crass and rude and bleh. The only thing that'll happen is like days I'm feeling more masculine, I'll make jokes about being a man, and days I'm feeling more feminine. Like one of my, now that I'm open with my friends and open with myself, one of my favorite things is like, there's no men here, and I take a moment to pause and think, no, yeah, you're right, there's no men here today. That's a pretty fun joke. It's gonna get old eventually, but no, I've always been slightly misogynistic. Like always, even like no matter what, in the way I talk with my friends, because it's joking, it's not meant to be serious. I just like dick jokes and tit jokes. And
How do you think it's misogynistic?
there's definitely some like I think it's objectifying. The sex jokes and sexuality I make towards my friends is definitely leans towards the sexual objectification area, and if I were born with a penis, it would 100% not be okay for me to do that, and my friends would be uncomfortable with that. I'm pretty sure, but I was born with a vagina, so I have a lot of wiggle room and lee room, and it's cute when girls do it. I have been trying to be less for like the past year or so of it, but also like making what a typical woman kind of jokes with my friends in a safe context where we know it's not serious and all that fun stuff is fine. I also try to keep my statements to be just complimentary, and I try to make it clear that I'm not hitting on my friends.
Does that change based on whether the friend in question is a dude or a
No.
chick?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I tend to compliment chicks more because tits. But like, yeah, if a dude comes in with a nice ass, I'll be like, hey, nice ass. I wolf whistled Brayden the other day. And then I sent him a text message afterwards saying, hey, sorry for wolf whistling you if that made you uncomfortable. But he was very sweet when he replied. He says, no, it's fine amongst friends. So, but yeah, I definitely do that. Just blatant, you're sexy today, regardless of if they have a penis or a vagina. Or, well, that's not gender, but like, you know, regardless of the presenting gender. I'm queer.
Shout it.
Queer, and there's nothing to fear.
Is there?
I'm here.
Aww. Wholesome.
I'm out of fears.
It was so close to just being wrapped up. It's totally fine.
You don't understand how this works. Clearly, you've never seen King Lear.
I haven't either.
It's too bad it's not playing anywhere near here.
I see you.
Also already said here.
I did. I'm acting drunk like I had a beer.
Leave.
I just came here to find some cheer.
Do you think the way you interact with, like, someone that you're, like, ordering food from, or, like, a waiter, or, like, just anyone that you have to have a more, like, direct interaction with and not just, like, a passerby, is influenced by your gender / their gender?
I tend to be a lot nicer towards female presenting individuals. Not nicer in like being a good person. I try to be a good person to everyone, but I tend to be a lot more like, oh, thank you, oh, sorry, oh, are you okay? Like, a lot more delicate. Tend to treat them more delicate, or the interaction as something that's softer than it really is. Mainly because I don't want to appear too harsh or cold. For mask, yeah.
Do you think not wanting to appear harsh or cold is because you were maybe raised as a girl, or because of how you feel your gender is, or is that something?
I think honestly it's a Buenos Aires context thing, just because this is a very warm culture. Like, I wouldn't do that in Berlin. Not nearly as much, because in Berlin it's a very cold, strangers are strangers kind of culture, and strangers become friends through slow interactions and mutual interests. And I think a lot of my typically feminine habits, such as over apologizing and making myself smaller for other people, doesn't come from my biology and how other people perceived me, because my parents didn't raise me as such. Instead, it comes from the isolation and alienation and bullying that I went through, as well as the sensation that my support network wasn't stable. So when I interact with strangers, male or female, I often will be overly nice, overly apologetic, thank them way too much, because I have this innate fear that nobody likes me, and that everyone will leave me eventually.
Okay, my next question is about your living situation in general. Do you think the way that you take up space here and the way that you interact with Siraj is affected by gender?
Let's see. 10 persons even here. Hey! Don't skip! You can do it! I believe in you! Got it!
I'm filming Mayzie.
I'm supposed to act natural as we can in front of a camera.
I mean, this is how I am.
Yes, I know.
Oh.
This isn't natural.
This is unnatural. I'm sorry.
Maisie doesn't know how to act natural.
I don't.
They're amazing.
I think the way I interact with my roommate is definitely affected by biology, especially because he comes from Nepal, and there's a very different association with biology and gender and how that's treated. So I try to take care not to be too loud or anything while his parents are calling, because I don't want... I mean, his parents are fine with him rooming with me because they assume I have a boyfriend, but I don't want there to be any sort of discomfort for him on his case. Other than that, though, actually who he is as a person, who I am as a person, isn't that bad. I mean, I try to be considerate of everyone I'm living with, because I know I can sometimes be a hard person to live with, because I like listening to loud music and dancing in my room, and my room is basically my safe space, and I need to have that. So I'm very particular about things, like who's going to come in, when, who gets to sit on my bed and who doesn't. I like to be expressly asked, always, before something happens in my space. I'm not sure if that's related to gender at all, but...
Yeah, you two would just go on, like, one time so Dana's the quiet cousin, right? And there's just one family reunion where the entire reunion just got hijacked by Dana, like, talking on and on and on about 23andMe and all these genetic testings and how they're evil and they're not doing proper science and it doesn't matter. And it was just, like, the funniest shit. Because she's the quiet one. She never says anything. And, like, my dad and my brother Eli goes, yeah, I was thinking of getting a genetic test. And she goes, no.
Alondra just said jazz hands of uncertainty, and that's going to be a new D&D item. Or I might have learned in a coding situation as opposed to in an artsy creative situation, and working out with them whether or not they think the HC would apply. And so maybe not right now at this very moment for your proposal, but once you get your buddy, your capstone buddy advisor, talking with them, since they're the ones who are going to be grading it, about how they would see that HC applied in the situation, and working it out, especially since, you know, you're not going to worry about it now because you don't need to, and you'll be happy.
Ooh, okay. Do you think the way you act in class, like how much you volunteer to speak, what kind of comments you make, what kind of things you include in your comments, is influenced by how you feel gender or how you feel other people perceive your gender?
Maybe yes, in first year, when I was trying to make everyone like me desperately, and trying to seem as normal and possible, but I'm just such a bizarre person that I don't think my gender affects anything. I think usually it's personality or class that, not class like high or low, but like 2019 versus 2020 that affects. So, no, I don't think so.
Do you worry about how your professors see your gender at all?
I honestly, for a lot of stuff, don't personally care about how people see my gender. No, not my professors, no. Unless they explicitly treat me as a woman as opposed to a student. I don't like being treated, or not even a woman, but like a girl. Like a young infantile girl, because I think there's a way that girls are treated that I absolutely hate being treated like a girl. I'm okay being treated like a woman. I'm okay being treated like a boy. I'm okay being treated like a man. I just absolutely hate being treated like a girl. And so if a professor starts doing that, I will be very offended. But I don't think a professor here has done that, so it hasn't come up. I will say being with my friends or my classmates, being treated as one of the boys is something that I really like. It's like one of the highest compliments people give me sometimes is like, oh, you're just like a boy. Because there's a lot of power associated with that phrase, and I like to be powerful. But in terms of being viewed as plot twist, gender fluid, non-binary, we're just going to be out there and say that, gender fluid, I don't really care about what pronouns people use, because I'm fine, it's confusing to go back and forth anyways, and I don't like they, them, just because I don't want to do the whole grammar argument with people. What matters to me is the way people treat me. And if people treat me like I am a powerful individual, then I like that. And if they treat me like I'm small and infantile and girly and, you know, something to be thrown to the side, I absolutely 100% hate that.
Do you think the media you choose to engage with or the media that you enjoy is influenced by your gender?
Oh, damn, yeah. 100%. I have a fear of... at least with comic books, right? Or do you mean like the media or the type of narratives?
Yeah, that.
The type of narratives.
Yeah.
Okay. The type of narratives I engage with used to be traditionally male kind of thing. Action, adventure, fighting. I would not, for the life of me, admit that I liked romance anything for years. Like I came to Minerva and finally started openly admitting to people I like Twilight. So I have a soft spot and a romantic spot, but I suppressed that for so long because I was told that was kind of girly, and I didn't want to be seen as girly because girly often meant weak, and I don't want to be seen as weak. So, but beyond that sort of weird genre of like, oh yeah, I actually kind of like romantic subplots. Action, adventure, fantasy, A Boy and His Dragon is like literally my favorite thing. And a lot of my heroes growing up were all men. All of them. And I think that very, very heavily influenced the way I view women than the way I thought of myself. So I think of myself... We always have this joke that Pepe thinks of himself as like the protagonist of a telenovela. I 100% think of myself as the plucky boy hero like Luke Skywalker going off on an adventure. And everything in my mind is like steps on that adventure. I would say that the only type of thing, and this is just because there's non-binary is sort of a relatively new thing, and there's not really, like, mainstream media that I'm aware of that's targeted towards gender fluidity or non-binary stuff, except for Rick Riordan. Rick Riordan is awesome. But I would say that the only sort of typically feminine narratives that I liked were witches. I really liked powerful women. So the movie we went to see was Captain Marvel, and that was very meaningful to me because it means that, yes, I can be feminine and be powerful. So that's always a lot more meaningful to me. But in terms of the way my brain works and what I choose to engage with, it's always sort of boy adventure kind of things.
Is there anything interesting in your sleep routine we should know about? Or getting ready for sleep?
I always like releasing my tits from their confines. There's a joke someone made in my freshman year of high school that like it's like releasing the Kraken. So literally every time I just take off my bra or my chest binder, I'm like, release the Kraken! And beyond that, nothing really. Living with Suraj, we have a underwear rule. Underwear when you're in the presence of another person, so I can't be fully nude. But that's about it. I watch Game Grumps before bed.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Going to stop recording?
Cool. I have thought about the genders of my stuffed animals.
Do you want to share?
So this is Nangua. He is a he. He is my man. He's a man because he has a butthole. No other reason than that. He's just pretty masculine. This is Uni. She's very feminine. Very, very, very femme. She can cure cancer. This is Sugar. I think Sugar's confused. I think today Sugar's a lady. And this is Rabbit. Rabbit, I think Sugar's actually non-binary, and Rabbit kind of fluctuates from day to day. So.
The whole spread.
The whole spread. We got them all. Normally pretty feminine, though, over here. And Sugar is kind of like my child. Isn't that right? What?
You're funny.
I know. I grew up with them. They're all very special to me.